Did you know that unlike identity columns, SQL Server sequences can generate pre-assigned customizable numbers across multiple tables, views, or even before insertion happen? Yes, sequences are powerful, flexible, and incredibly efficient. And yet, many developers either overlook them or use them incorrectly. In this video, we are diving deep into SQL Server sequences, what they are, why we need them, and how they solve real-time challenges in systems like e-commerce order tracking, invoice generation across departments, background job scheduling, ticketing system, and even high-performance logging pipelines. You will see live demos, learn the difference between cache and no cache, and understand why sequences can outperform identity columns in many enterprise scenarios. Whether you are preparing for interviews or optimizing production systems, this is a must-know feature for every SQL developer and DBA. So if you find this content helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends and others who are in requirement of such content. It helps us bring more practical, real-world content your way. Let's master sequences in SQL Server. Let's get started. A sequence in SQL Server is a user-defined object that generates a sequence of numeric values in an ordered manner, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. This is very much similar to identity, but this is different in terms of it is not tied to a specific table. As we create identity on a specific field of a table and that works on that. On the contrary, sequence can be used among multiple tables and at multiple places. Let's go and see the sequence first, how to create and how to use it. I am in SQL Server Management Studio and I'm going to create a sequence for you. This is the simplest syntax for creating sequence. So this is create sequence, SQUENCE, and the sequence name. Start with 1 and increment by 1. Then what will happen? There would be a sequence called next global number be created, which will start from 1 and it will go until the range of big int. So big int is the default. If you don't specify, it will go up to the range of big int and it will get incremented by 1. So let me go and select this to create sequence for you. Sequence has been created. Let's use this. So use this sequence, you have to use that next value. So you have to write next value for. Make sense? Next value. Select next value for your sequence name. So let's go and see. So this shows 1. As many times as you use this, you'll get the next value. Let's say, for example, I'm going to use it again here. This will be 2. Somewhere in my stored procedure, I'm going to use it. Then it will give me 3. I have been using it multiple times at multiple places. It will always give me the next value of the sequence. Let's go little deep into the history of sequence. Before the SQL Server version 2012, there was no sequence concept in SQL Server. Then developers used to use identity instead. But there was a limitation of identity. The identity column which were created were tied to that specific table. For example, if you have created identity column for an employee table, for employee ID, it will be tied to that table only. You cannot use in department table or somewhere else. Make sense? In 2012, SQL Server version, sequence evolved. And now you can actually create a global sequence value, which can be used among tables, views, and other database objects. And there is another enhancement in 2016 and the SQL Server 2016 onwards. that there have been performance optimization and better caching mechanism. If you say cache, this is basically a different concept I'm going to explain you. And basically what you can do is, while creating sequence, you can create cache. So that many sequence SQL Server already creates and it keeps that in cache. So instead of giving you the next sequence number, instead of going and writing and taking it from the disk, it will take from the cache and this will be served to you. So it will be faster. This is the syntax for creating sequence, which consists of almost everything which you can use in sequence. What you require is to write is create and then SQL sequence. And let's say if you are going to create is a schema name, that is DBO in most of the cases, DBO dot your sequence name. So this is the sequence name. As you have to specify the type. So you have to specify the integer type. Maybe it can be small int, big int, tiny int, or stuff like that. If you miss this, if you don't specify this, it will by default take big int. Then you are saying start with, from which number onwards you want to start, and this is called increment by how many steps that you want to increment. You want to increment by 1, you want to increment by 2, or like that. That is mean value. You can specify that. It can go up to that mean value. Max value, if you specify max value as 999, and so it can maximum go to 999. And by chance, if you have a specified cycle, so what will happen? If you go to 999 and you are going to retrieve next sequence number, it will not give you 1000. Instead, it will give you 1 again, because then it will restart. It will do the cycle. And then last is cache. This cache thing is, you can actually specify number of sequence in the cache. Let's say you specify cache value is 50. So already 50 sequences will be generated and will be kept in cache, instead of going to the disk and do IO operations on disk and getting it back. And likewise, you can specify as no cache, no maximum value, no minimum value. Let's go and explore a couple of real-time scenario on sequence. Where can you use the sequence in your real-time projects or examples? Number one is invoice number generation across multiple tables. So you have multiple tables like retail invoice, online invoice, export invoice, import invoices, like that. But you want to use a single invoice number among all those tables. So you can use sequence there, which can be used by all these tables. Custom order numbers, you're generating a unique number for orders, so you can use sequence. Batch or job tracking, you are creating job or batch, and then you want to give a unique number to that, which can be used outside that table as well. You can create sequence. Assigning IDs before inserting. So if unlike identity, which comes and used only in case of insert, you can create any sequence and you can use before inserting as well. Likewise, there are many use cases where the sequence can be used. In nutshell, we need to understand it's a global unique value which you can use among your database objects. Make sense? Let's go and see all these things in action. I'm back in SQL Server Management Studio, and then we are going to create another sequence. This sequence is order number sequence, and this consists of almost all the attributes of sequence creation. So create sequence, and this is the order number sequence, the sequence number. This is the schema name. As int, if I am saying I am going to specify the type of sequence is int. If I am removing it and I'm not going to write, then it will be by default begin. Start with 1, so it will start with 1. It will increment by 1, so it will go on by 1. And mean value is 1. It cannot go below mean value 1. And max value it is 99. Cycle is specified. That cycle tells that what will happen if you keep on getting sequence number, next sequence number, and you by chance have reached 99. So next sequence number you cannot expect 100, because then it will be cycle back to 1. So that it will, on the moment it touches max value, and if cycle is enabled, then it will come back to its 1. Make sense? And cache 20, that means it will create 20 sequence in one go and will keep in cache, so that it will be faster to execute. And what will happen, it will not it will not require many disk IO operations every time. Let's go and create this. Hitting this, the sequence gets created. Now let's run a loop. The loop is from 1 to 120. So I am writing a while loop here, while I is less than equals 120, and I'm getting another sequence number, next value for sequence number. This way we can test whether the cycle is working fine or not. Let's go and run this loop. The loop runs here, and this has produced the data. You see this keeps on going, and going and going and going and going and going and going. And then the moment it reaches 99, let's see what happens. So if you go to 99 and you are expecting 100, but since cycle is enabled, so you are going to have 1 again, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So this is how cycle works. Here I am going to demonstrate the concept of cache. Please note that we are using the latest version of SQL Server, where there is an improvement in cache. You already seen the example that SQL Server 2016 Plus has got better caching and performance optimization. I'm not sure if we can reproduce that, but we will try this. So the case is, I'm going to create a sequence. This is how we are creating a sequence. The sequence with cache and sequence without cache, right? And both of the sequence is starting with 1, go by 1, and in first I am going to have cache of 5, and in second I am going to have no cache. Pretty simple. Let's go to create the first sequence. The first sequence gets created, and let's go and create the second sequence. The second sequence also gets created. Now let's go to have values from both of them. So this is the 1 and 1 value that we have got. Even we can hit it again and you can get 2 and 2. 2 from cache, 2 from non-cache. So far so good. I'm going to now restart the SQL Server service. So ideally what happens in older version of SQL Server, if you have maintained something in cache, like we have already maintained 5 for the first sequence number. So 5 sequences have already been cached. The moment you are restarting the SQL Server, or SQL Server was down for some time and came back, so if you have used cache, so it could have, earlier it was losing that cache value. So next increment with the cache sequence will give you 6. Let's say you have only taken 2 here. We have seen that only taken the 2. The next should be 3. But since you have already cached and your SQL Server is down and coming back, service is down and coming back, so since cache already took 5, so it will jump back to 6. But this will give you again right from 2 to 3, 4 like that. So I'm going to simulate the same thing, right? So right now we are giving 2. Let me go to the services. So services, you can go simply here and services.msc, and then you can open services, and I can see SQL Server is running here. So I'm going to restart the SQL Server. So I'm going to restart it, and so both the services, SQL Server services, have been restarted again. Let me go here and try to execute the same thing to see what happens. This time both of these give 3. Ideally I was expecting the cached value should give you 6, but since it is the latest version of SQL Server, this handles caching very properly. So what happens at the time of crash or at time of SQL Server down, it writes it back and then gives you the correct. So using cache is pretty safe these days. You can have the information on the cache's data. So let's see if it is there. This is a cached sequence having cache size of 5 and the current value is 3. And is it cached is true? Yes. So with this, we are done with the sequence concept. I understand the concept of sequence, which I explained you. I defined sequence for you. I showed you one example where can we use sequence, a couple of real-time scenarios of sequences. I'm pretty sure that you are going to use it in your practical projects and examples in your professional life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more high quality technical content. Drop your question in comments and I will be happy to answer them. See you in the next one. Bye bye.